Hello and welcome to another episode of Blades of Thunder. So, as you recall from our last test flight, we had a little bit of an incident and the pinion on the motor came loose. So we took it back to the workshop, and Kev went over the model and checked for any damage, because when it crashed I did quickly check to make sure that nothing was falling off or anything was lubed, but it's always good once you get back into the workshop to have a thorough go over and make sure that the tail never strike the ground and all the gearing and everything else in between. So we checked all the undercarriage, and then we found out that the motor pinion had come loose. So Kev put the new grub screw in and secured it in tight, and I'm back here at the field to give it its second test flight now. So you can expect to probably do a few of these to iron out any of the kinks and everything else in between. Now, in the last episode, I mentioned that I was flying and I had to balance the aircraft because Glenn had flown it before, and he got it all trimmed out and it was flying nicely. But once it got into the fuselage, they tend to be very tail heavy. So one of the things that I was going to be looking at was to see how well it was balanced. In other words, how it the center of gravity and hung in a hover, and I had to put some weights in the front of it. And we had one of the comments on the last video who mentioned what I was to explain it a bit more. So basically, on the front of the when I was in the hover, it was very tail heavy, so what I did was in the front in here we put some weights, and then we did another test hover and made sure that it was hanging with the canopy on, obviously, and the battery in, that it was hanging nice and level. And one way that you can do that is if you put the aircraft and the batteries and you hang it underneath the two rotor blades that are hanging out the side, and you lift it, it should rise nice and level. And if it goes tail heavy, you put some more on the nose. If it's very nose heavy, you take some out, and vice versa. Okay, so we've done all that, and now we're ready for its second test flight. So let's get up in the air. So I've just done the pre-flight checks and done my control surface check, and now I'm going to check the gyros, make sure that they're moving in the correct way. If for any reason the swash plate was moving incorrectly, or I wasn't happy, I would unplug and restart and replug it in and let it reset again. Only fly if you're comfortable and that you're happy. So if you missed anything, or you missed it initializing and you're not sure whether it initialized okay, then better safe than sorry, just unplug and replug it back in. So we're spooling up to the 1600 RPM that we found was the head speed it was more comfortable at. So we're waiting for it to get up to speed. Any adverse vibration you would notice by now, it would be making a howling noise, and then you would just stop. So we're up in the hover, quick tail check, make sure everything is working correctly and the tail is holding. It's a little windy, so we'll try and get it in a nice hover. Seems to be okay, no vibrations. Now we start moving it around. Once you start adding more pitch and that, it will obviously cause more different harmonics, and you might well get different vibrations. So it's always best to do a thorough test, moving it around, different heights, different pitches, etc, etc. All the while I'm checking for balance, checking the tail is holding, making sure that the gain isn't too high, because sometimes when you go into fast forward flight, the tail can start to buzz a little bit and you might have to compromise it, the gain control. Oh, the wind got out from the under there. Overall, the balance of the aircraft was very good. Having added the weight from last time, the centre of gravity on it was nice, and I didn't have to keep any adverse control inputs in to keep it hovering in one spot. We get it back into the hover again, checking for tracking. Make sure the weights haven't moved inside. Everything seems okay. And considering its size and bulk, even though it's only a 450, with the wind that we had, it seemed to handle it very well. Now we'll come back into the landing, so we'll come back into the hover again, finding a good spot and gently placing it down. And there's the end of the test flight. So we've had the second test flight, as you saw, and everything else, everything seemed to be working correctly this time, and we managed to get it down in one piece, which is always a good thing. The balance is very good. It hung nice and level, so I think the weights are just right, and yeah, all the controls are working, and all the vibration it seems to be as it should be, and no excessive vibration. So now we can start to make it more of the little birds and start adding some more accessories. So we'll go back into the workshop, and yeah, we'll start making it, customizing it now.
Hope you enjoyed this video. Please like, share and subscribe, and we'll see you in the next video.